Quick disclaimer before we start today's video. This is chapter 1 of the Patreon exclusive Fretboard Mastery course. Make sure to join us in the community on patreon.com/BERNTH after watching this video to download the full awesome course package and finally learn how to visualize your entire fretboard effectively. So today we finally focus on fully unlocking the fretboard and visualizing the notes, scales, arpeggios and more in a really fast, fun and efficient way. I'm sure you felt lost and confused at some point when you looked at your fretboard, especially during improvisation sessions. Naturally, as guitarists, we're often trapped in scale boxes, just playing them up and down and not really connecting with the music that we're playing over. The chords we have to play over also sometimes seem to move way too fast to accent them melodically, and it's frustrating to feel like your brain is too slow to actually follow the music. Great news, that's all about to change with this program. Let's start with step number 1, the absolute foundation, visualizing the notes on your fretboard, and the 2 key methods that will make this very easy for you. I want to move to the really exciting second chapter as soon as possible, so let's keep this short and effective. You have to be able to visualize the notes you're playing on the fretboard to make significant progress with everything else I want to show you today. Let's start with some good news. As you might already know, everything repeats at the 12th fret. This obviously makes a graphic like this less intimidating right away. So for example, you have F on the 1st fret on the low E string and on the 13th fret on the low E string, or E on the 2nd fret of the D string and on the 14th fret of the D string. Generally speaking, there are 12 notes in music, so everything repeats in the next octave if you move up 12 frets. And it would repeat after the 24th fret once again, in case you have a longer guitar than me. Another unique benefit for us guitarists in standard tuning is that we have 2 E strings, a low E string, your lowest string, and a high E string, your highest string. So once you can see the notes on the low E string, you will also see them on the high E string. 1 string less to worry about. Now that we covered the absolute basics, it gets more interesting. Let's discuss the first really effective method of visualizing the fretboard. So did you ever wonder why the piano has white and black keys? The white keys represent the musical tones and the black keys represent the half-step intervals between those musical tones. These colored keys help pianists differentiate between the natural pitches and semitone pitches. When we look at the fretboard, we sadly don't get any visual feedback like that, but there is an easy way of understanding and visualizing this. So the white keys on the piano are C, D, E, F, G, A and B. You might recognize them as the notes of the C major scale, and the notes in between can be seen as the lower note raised by a semitone or as the higher note lowered by a semitone. So the note between C and D could be either C sharp or D flat. This is technically speaking the exact same pitch, but in music theory it does make a difference if the lower note is raised or the higher note is lowered. We will discuss that further with the intervallic functions in chapter number 2. But the most important information right here is that you essentially just have to remember the white keys on the fretboard. It will be easy for you to fill up the notes in between after that. Here's today's first exercise for you, playing the white keys on the low E string. Please make sure to memorize the notes when you're playing this exercise or even say them out loud. This is not a technique exercise for a change, so it really doesn't matter how fast you can play this. After practicing like this for a while, you can simply fill up the holes in between by adding the black keys. Please remember how the sharps and flats work. A sharp sign means the note that is 1/2 step higher than the natural note, and a flat sign means the note that is 1/2 step lower than the natural note. So here's the second exercise with those added black keys. Once again, please make sure to memorize the notes that you are playing, or even better, say them out loud. Now that you understand this really important system, you can move to playing the C major scale all across the neck. This will obviously help you with memorizing all the natural notes across your fretboard, and you can fill the holes again later by just raising the lower natural note or lowering the higher natural note. Please take your time and practice this slowly and carefully. This could be the perfect workout for the start of your practice routine to warm up your fingers and also your brain. Remember to think about each note as you're practicing this, and also download your tabs, guitar profiles and video play-alongs for all of these daily exercises on patreon.com/BERNTH. In case this full and quite big workout is a bit too overwhelming for you right now, I also made 6 separate video play-alongs for Patreon that focus on each string individually. With these videos you can play along together with me in each practice routine, and you see each note light up in the video, which makes it a bit easier to memorize all of this. So when you work on one string at a time, you can piece together this puzzle in just a couple of days, and you will be quite surprised how easy this actually is. It's really exciting to finally see the notes that you're playing on the fretboard, and this will honestly change your life in playing forever. So after working with these exercises for a while, you can also always extend them past the 12th fret. Please remember that all notes repeat in the next octave, and you can easily move what you learned to the higher sections of the fretboard. The second really helpful fretboard mastery method I want to show you today revolves around working with one note and moving it through all the different strings in different locations on the fretboard. As guitarists, we're naturally drawn to the lower strings, and you will memorize the notes on your low E string quickly in just a couple of hours. But instead of working on the same string, you get to know the D string by playing octave intervals in the next exercise. And you can also extend those octave intervals to the high E string. You might have seen this on the channel already, but here's what happens when you move that triangle shape through the A minor scale, so only working with the natural notes. This is not only a great fretboard visualization exercise, this will also help you with memorizing and playing scales all across the fretboard. Watch what happens when you add the next 2 notes of the A minor scale to each note that you were playing. This is already very different than just playing a scale box up and down. So to quickly summarize what you've learned so far. I can recommend 2 main approaches to study the notes on the fretboard in your daily practice routine. Working with the C major scale is a great idea to learn the white keys or natural notes across the neck. And as we discussed, you can further break this approach down and work with just one string at a time. The play-along exercise videos I recorded for you on Patreon will help you with that. And for the second approach, you can also work with one note and find it all across the neck. Thinking in octaves will really help with that. You essentially just pick one note and find it in all positions across the fretboard. Aside from the octave triangle, there's also one more exercise I can really recommend for this. Finding your chosen notes all across the fretboard in all positions up until the 12th fret. Let's say my chosen note for today is E. This is how the exercise would look like. You can simply alternate between those 2 practice approaches every day to keep it interesting in your routine, and working like that will finally unlock the full fretboard for you in a quite short amount of time. But this is obviously only the beginning. When you only know the names of the notes across the fretboard, you still have no idea how to use this knowledge to your benefit musically when you're improvising or songwriting. There's a different system I can really recommend for that, and it's not what you might think. That's exactly what you will learn in detail in Chapter 2 on Patreon. Now it's finally time to check out how to actually use all of that newly gained fretboard visualization wisdom musically. This will really set you free of thinking in boxes and shapes constantly. Minor 6th and minor 7th. Let's play through this scale as well. I hope you can see the huge potential of this system already. Instead of thinking in boxes and shapes, you get a deeper understanding of how scales actually work and when to use them. Anywhere on the neck you want to, now that you know more about fretboard visualization, like we discussed in Chapter 1 of this course. And if you know the interval structure of the scale or arpeggio you want to play, you can